Tired of the hype about living the dream? It's time for truth. This is the place for tools, power, and real talk so you can create the life you dream and deserve. Your ultimate life. Subscribe, share, create. You have infinite power.
Hey there, and welcome to this episode of Your Ultimate Life, the podcast I created to help us live a life of purpose, prosperity, and joy by serving with the gifts and talents that we have. This is the special Thursday edition that started a few weeks ago. We're going to, keep going for a year or maybe more with two coaches every week to talk about this amazing thing that's happening in our world. AI is rising up, and I've got this book coming out on October 23rd. I think by the time you see this, it will be out already, a week or two. But anyway, it talks about what I have thought that coaching is going to experience with this. And I don't have the only opinion, so I'm bringing every week a couple of experienced people on to talk about this. So Mark and Diane, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Great for being here.
All right, cool. So this isn't structured at all, so I'm just going to throw out a general question and each of you answer however you want to, and we'll just kind of go from there. So Diane, what are you doing, if anything, with AI? Just kind of ramble a little. What do you think about it? What are you doing with it in the work that you do?
Probably not as much as you two are, but for me, it's a tool, right? It's a tool just like your CRM, just like your merchant account, just like your computer, whatever, right? Dan Kennedy said long ago, the internet isn't a business, it's a media, right? And so I've kind of looked at AI as a tool that helps me in my business. I use it for idea generation. I do use it for copy ideas and to help me write things. I've used it for some name things. I have clients who use it in a lot of different ways, but even when I use it, for copy kinds of things, I always go back in and make it mine. And the nice thing for me is everything I've done inside of AI has been my stuff. So I've uploaded, my own transcriptions and that kind of thing. So it always comes out sounding like me without me telling it, which I think is a positive from a copy perspective. So that's kind of how I'm using it at this point in time.
Yeah, I love that. I have a thread in ChatGPT has been the one I use most, but I have a thread in there called 1 million words. And I put all my books and many, many episodes in there, and it actually told me I've put in 4 million words. So, okay. Wow. But the thread was called 1 million words. So I do notice that it sounds like me. I completely agree. Mark, I know you're doing a ton with it. So tell us what you're doing and what you see.
Yeah. So my team and I mean, we pretty much live in AI 24/7, between ChatGPT and Manus and all the other platforms that are out there. We're constantly testing everything to see what can get us the AI that sounds the most human. Because our goal is not to really make AI, let AI teach us stuff. It's to have AI help us be better. So I've trained AIs to talk like me, write like me. I've written a book with AI that sounds exactly as if I had written it with my own hand. We use it for email, calendars, clients. We create custom GPTs all the time that can really think like anyone. And that's a lot of the work we're doing with clients, is really kind of getting AI to coach or consult as if you're talking to the masters of all, the greatest masters of all time. It's very cool.
Yeah, very, very cool. Diane, if I come back to, either one of you, I don't care. One of the things that happens in any conversation I have with people about AI is somebody brings up scary things like, is there anything or what scares you about this? And I don't mean across every ethical consideration in the universe. We're really talking about coaching and consulting and the way you're having it help you write. And I do the same thing. Everything else. What is it that worries you? Either one of you, doesn't matter.
It's a funny question to me because we look at all the things in our lives, right? I think we're all above 40 here. I'm
I'll
certainly
be
way beyond
70 in
40.
December. I'll be 70
Well,
in December.
well, I just turned 62 in August, so
Right.
but I was trying to, I didn't know about March, so I didn't want to offend anybody.
Yeah.
But how many things in our lifetime have we had that it's been this, ooh, the world's gonna end, right? Y2K, the internet, a cell phone. Now we carry computers around in our pockets. So I'm not sure there's anything scary about it so much as I think we need to be cautious about using it in a way that is responsible, that we're sure we're getting correct information and not spewing. The thing that bothers me is you never know anymore what's real and what's not. You see all this stuff on social, especially. And, now instead of going, oh, this happened, I'm like, did that really happen? Let me go Google it.
I
No,
think
that
the same thing.
Right.
All the crap you see on these Facebook things, especially after, like that Charlie Kirk guy got killed, all these things, and everybody, all this stuff. I do the same thing. Did that really happen? I
Right.
do the same
Photos,
thing.
with six fingers. I don't want to have to look and think and I know that we're in a different time, right? So maybe this is my age coming out, but I don't want to look every time to see. But by the same token, is what we hear on the news right? I mean, are there any true sources of right information or true information that we don't have to verify? But I think that's gotten worse, and that bothers me.
Mark, what do you think about that?
I agree, and unfortunately, we're in an age where, just like the tools that you mentioned, when the internet came out and cell phones and everything else, we have to be worried about the intentions of the lowest common denominator. We have to be worried about the intentions of the people who are out to do people harm, and AI allows them to do so much more evil that I was actually just speaking to a group a couple of days ago of senior citizens at one of the communities here in Florida that I live near, and I was talking to them about AI in this modern age, and I did a whole intro video that wasn't me, and I had some recordings that weren't me, and I even had a phone conversation with myself to show them what's capable. And I left them all with a simple comment that's literally go to your friends and family and create a safe word, because that's the only way you're going to know when you get a phone call that the person on the other end of the phone is actually them. I mean, I've had to do the exact same thing with my family, with my teenager, because I've seen too many cases where bad actors will come in, and I mean, there are communities here in Florida that are scammed constantly by somebody calling a senior, sounding like their kid. Hey, I'm in jail, or hey, I just had this car accident and I need money. Can you send me a gift card, or can you send me, wire money to me? And they get scammed every single day. So as long as we're, those of us that are trying to do AI for good need to constantly be pushing the boundaries and fighting back against the people who are doing it for evil.
Wow. So I didn't realize that was so prevalent. And I guess that's just me not knowing that, not universe enough. So we're really focusing on coaching. And, one of the things I did in writing the book is I took 11 different coaching models, everything from 3 principles to Werner Erhardt's landmark stuff to NLP to somatic coaching, just not everyone I could find, but 11 big ones that I could find. The sort of ICF coaching, I ask it to analyze the models and to say 3 things. 1, what is the efficacy of the model in getting the promised result? And it's funny because it came back and said, well, a lot of them don't really have a really clear promised result, but here's what it seems like. Okay. Anyway, it did that. And then I said, so then I want you to analyze it again in terms of its vulnerability to AI. In other words, as you have developed, and it's funny, in the 6 months it took me to write the book, I saw AI ability, speed, skill double twice. 4 times. Like, in other words, in terms just of my interaction and the intelligence, the capability, the salience, and everything of the answer. So anyway, and so it came back. The answers that it came back with a nice table of the success of the existing models, their vulnerability to AI ranked high, medium, and low, and the description of why and what they did that AI either already can or shortly would be able to duplicate and do better and faster, including empathetic and encouraging language and all the stuff that we think is uniquely ours. So that's what makes me get to the place where I think the vast majority, and I use 95% as a placeholder, but if coaches that are existing with the current kind of structure won't have any work. What do you guys think about that in terms of agree, disagree, think I'm crazy in terms of the coaching profession? Because that's really what I'm aiming at.
Well, go ahead, Mark. I've been going first. You take this.
Okay. Honestly, I think that there's a huge opportunity for coaches with the advent of AI, because there's going to be a group of people who are always looking for the easy button, and that's straight AI. But where coaches are going to come in is that human interaction, that human touch, that over the last, call it decade, we as a people have kind of been isolated, been moved away from that human to human interaction. And I honestly think that opens up a huge opportunity for coaches to grow, because they're going, if they really embrace that human to human aspect of it, as opposed to just being results oriented, which in a lot of cases, yeah, any machine can generate a result. But that human to human interaction and engagement is something that the AI can't touch.
I'm so glad I let you go first, because that's perfect, right? Because that's exactly what I was going to say is it can't ever replace that human thing. And, Bill Glazer used to say that the loneliest person in the world is an entrepreneur, right? And so where do we get that? I'm single. I live alone. My interaction is this kind of thing. It's client-based, right? My clients are a lot the same way. They're not all single living alone. And I'm good, by the way. Don't feel sorry for me. But you can't get that, right? And so, this may sound strange, but, let me say this. Kellan, you were talking about models, right? Yeah. That has been a problem with the coaching industry for 10 years plus. I don't follow a model. The model is, what do you need? What do we need to talk about today, this week, this month to help you move forward? Where's your marketing plan? Let's look at that. Are you following it? Are you far off from that? Those are things AI can't do. But I don't have a cookie cutter system, and I don't believe that cookie cutters belong in business or in coaching. You can tell I'm excited about this. That gets me fired up. Cookie cutters belong in the kitchen, where the cookies are supposed to look the same, not in business. And so the problem with a lot of these coaching programs is that they're systemized. They're cookie cutter. You come in, you go through these 8 steps. That's not how I've ever done coaching, because your result, Kellan, is different than what Mark wants, which is different than what I want, because our businesses are different. We've been in business for take 5 insurance companies within a 10-mile radius of Metro Atlanta. They're 5 very different businesses because they have different clients. They have different offerings. The person who owns them is different. You can't treat them exactly the same. So I think you're right on. The people part of this, the interaction part of this may sound strange to some people, and it did to me 20 years ago. My clients and I tell each other that we love them. You can't get that from AI, and it's true. We're a family. The group of my highest level people, it's a little family. We know what's going on when somebody's sick, birthdays, anniversaries, all of that kind of thing. We get together live now, thank goodness, right? And it's hugs. It's that kind of thing. AI is never going to do that. But I think so many coaches and people in general, business people, have gotten this idea of, oh, well, AI is here. There goes my business. Instead of what Mark said, which is, where's the opportunity?
I love that, and thank you. It just epitomized by the fact that I just, in the last 3 weeks, have seen 4 or 5 ads for a company going to train in life coaches, and they're sitting on a beach in a chair. Be a life coach. Do this from anywhere. Blah 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 blah. And I can't even believe I'm still seeing that kind of thing, because it is so not what either one of you had just described. And
my theory about life coaching is this: if God thought I was a good enough idea to be here, why do I need you to coach me about my life?
I love that.
Want to piss off a life coach? Say that to him. Excuse my French.
No, I'm not even going to disagree, because if you're happy, or that person is happy with their life, they shouldn't be looking at or for a life coach or a coach. I mean, I don't use the niche idea, but that's a whole different thing. So after I did all that research and asked it everything it could do well and everything that was wrong with everything and what dangers there were, and it was scary, and I got that in as part of the publication. I asked it, okay, fine, what do you suck at? Like, what can't you do? What are you terrible at? The most egregious way I could describe that. And it came back with lots of really good answers that it can't do. And I'm not even going to list them all. But the one that really hit me hard was, it's just flat out said, I can't bleed.
Yeah, can't be empathetic.
Boom. Well, here was the funny thing. After I did my 1,000,000+ words in there, I asked it, so who am I? You tell me who I am. And it wrote back some language that was really emotional and powerful, and it was moving. Like, I read it and I said, okay, how come I'm having an emotional response? Your code, you've just told me some crap. How come I'm feeling these things? And it came back and said, I'm not doing anything. I'm just reflecting who you are.
Yeah.
And that moved me even more. And then we got into the I can't bleed thing. So I used that talking to it. Okay, since you can't bleed, do this, do that as we're writing things. And that, what you've said about the humanness, and I think, and so I'm going to test one more thing and another thing and see what you guys think. I think there are 3 big barriers for coaches taking advantage of the opportunity you've described, Mark, or moving into the place of non-linear processes. One is head in the sand. Lots of people are going to pretend this isn't happening, or it's not as bad as whatever, and they're already okay, and they're going to say, nobody can be a human like me, which is true, but they're still going to suck, and their head's in the sand, and they're going to get buried and blown away. The second reason is, I want you to picture a casino, and there's all these blackjack tables, and all of the $10 tables are all full of robots. And the only place that you or I can go sit down is in the high roller room, where the ante's $10,000. And so to me, what it feels like is the ante has gone up 1,000 times to get really in the game. And the third thing is what I call embodiment, which is what you have both referred to as the opportunity. But doing that, being that, is hard. And in the coaching profession, at least, I don't feel like it's a jacket you put on and take off. If you're going to coach people at the level of humanness, which is where this real opportunity is, it's something you have to be. Like, you wouldn't take good health advice from a doctor who's smoking. Like, why would you do that? It's like, what do you know? And so I think between head in the sand, the ante's gone way up, and the fact that being the embodiment of the truths that you teach is hard, I think those are big barriers that will prevent most coaches from moving to where they need to get to stay in the game. And I've said 5% and whatever that number is. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Here's my thing with the last one. It's not preventing anybody now. Do you know how many people are saying, "Hey, I could show you how to make six figures in your business," and they've never made six figures? Hey, I can show you how to go from $0 to $1 million in the next 30 days. And because we are who we are, our BS meters go off. But to somebody new who loves the flash, right, and who thinks, "Oh, I knew this business idea was a great idea," they jump at that. That's not. I don't think that piece is going to change, and it may get worse.
Let me just throw something in there because I think you're 100% right. And here's the thing I think is the gutting of this whole middle. People who did that sort of thing could limp along with systems and checklists and all the kinds of things that they did before because they were partially successful if someone followed the system, even though they hadn't. But because that's all going to be available now for $97 a month, better, faster, and in better language, that whole piece is going to be gone.
Maybe. We'll see.
I don't mean the lies. I don't mean the claim, the lie, the evidence by the ads that I just saw.
Well, it's fake now, right? But you got to. How do you figure that out? That's the question.
I love it. You're exactly right,
think
Mark.
I think we've got an interesting kind of dilemma coming up because those that are trying to get into the coaching space, like you said, the ante's going up. They're going to have to perform better. They're going to have to be more. And in a lot of cases, I mean, I've dealt with a lot of coaches in different courses over the years that I've taught. And the level of imposter syndrome that they feel personally because they haven't done it, but they want to coach on it, was always high. And now we're upping that level tenfold. So it really, in a way, is going to filter out the top people. You know, the cream is going to rise to the top. And the ones that are still in it, even, 6 or 12 months from now, are the ones that are actually performing as opposed to the ones that aren't. So in a way, it's going to level up the coaching game for those that really, really want to, be in it.
I love it.
And I hope you're right, but my question is, or does it make those people with imposter syndrome think now I don't need to be all that because I got all the answers in AI, and makes them even more confident, right? I don't know. I hope you're right, Mark. I hope you're right.
It definitely might. And one of the things that's going to, we have to remember that, 7 billion people on the planet, there's going to be the top 10% or the top 5% who are going to seek out the top 5% of coaches, and the 95% are going to be left with the 95% of ordinary coaches that are just regurgitating what they read in a book somewhere.
Right. And Kellan, you ask about the casino example. I think that's a good thing. Because I think now exactly what Mark just said, that now forces people to go to the upper echelon coaching programs that we've been offering for 20 years plus, right? And so now we get the cream of the crop in those programs because it's either that or nothing, right? The $10 people that are going to sit with the robots, they're not my client base. Like, I don't want those people anyway, right? So I think in some ways that helps us.
Yep.
I agree. And so let's go with that premise for a minute, because I use the word embodiment. And to me, because I work on, being and all the rest of it, that's a sacred opportunity. If you are not the product of the product, is the way I say that. If you're not the product of the product, you're history. And what I mean by that is you can pretend all you want and run and use the AI, but you can't charge very much. Because if all I'm doing is spitting out stuff I got in some books and some AI, that's all going to be available for $97 a month. And I won't be able to make a living as one of those guys because it's all now $97 a month or less, or even $100, $200 a month, whatever. It ain't going to be enough to sustain a living. And so you're right. People are going to have to level up and be the product of the product. If I don't leak the truth of what I teach by the very presence of who I am, then I'm out of business. And
From your lips to God's ears.
Yep.
So that's the premise that I've written the whole thing on. And then I've said, and this is how you do that. And I proposed a model and everything else. And when it was funny, after I proposed the learning and coaching model that did that, I took it into the chatting. I said, all right, now I want you to do the same thing, the same analysis on mine. Tell me what you think and what the weak spots are in AI vulnerability. And I'm not going to spoil the surprise. I'm not going to tell you what it said, but I was stoked. So anyway, tell me what you think the next 6 or 12 months is going to bring in your business in the context of further deployment of these tools, we'll call them, wonderful assistants that can do more and more and more every 15 minutes. What do you think that's going to do for you?
Well, it's interesting because I look at this a lot like I looked at social media after it started to gain momentum, right? Everything is changing so quickly that as soon as you think you know something, it changes. And still, social media is still that way, right? I stopped teaching social media because everything else I do is evergreen. I'm like, that's like, I'm not lazy, but that was way more than I wanted to do. And so I think keeping up with the tools and maintaining and the newest things, right? And the new things are going to slow down, right? The intelligence of it, I think, is going to continue to increase. But the ways that we use it, there will be my guess is 6, 8, 10 ways that all of us, and they may be different for me and you and Mark, right? But we'll pick those 6 ways, those 8 ways, those 10 ways, and utilize those in our business. And then that gives us something else to specialize in as a coach, if you think about it. Right? So yeah, I'm not going to teach you everything about AI. If you want that, go to Mark. But if you want to know about this, and this, those are the AI things that I specialize in for service businesses, or maybe it's just dental businesses or whatever it is. So I think we could still, I think it's going to be interesting to see in the next 12 months how those kinds of things develop.
Cool. Mark, what are you seeing in the next year or so?
I really think that we haven't even begun to grasp the extent to which AI is going to impact everything. You look at what's happened in the last 35 months since ChatGPT was officially released. And where it's gotten to today, and all the other language models and all the other software companies and the new chips and everything else. I think at the rate it's growing, we haven't even touched on a lot of what it's going to be able to do. It's now moving into areas of our lives that I don't even know if they were ever envisioned, really. So that's going to be interesting to see. I really think that, like Diane said, we have to embrace the subset that we want to be involved in. If somebody is going to coach on business strategy and that's going to be their focus, then they need to just focus on that and how everything plays together with that one topic, because there are so many tools and so many things out there that it's impossible for them to understand it all. I was just at a conference in Dallas the last 4 days, sitting in a room with 400 AI experts, like the top people in the AI space. And we were talking about things, and every single one of them has kind of segmented their business into being, there's a video guy, and there's a social media one, and there's a AI voice one, and they're self-selecting where they want to be and what part they want to focus on. And I think any coach and consultant is going to need to do that same kind of thing. They're going to need to figure out what piece of the universe they're going to want to own and just focus on that.
So what is it for you? After you come away from 400 people that are at least 2/3 as smart as you are, maybe not all the way, but what are you focusing on?
I focus on still, it's kind of the thing we've spoken about before. I focus on working with small business owners to leverage AI to buy back their time and really regain, like we talked about a few minutes ago, regain that human connection, regain it with their family, with their friends. So many small business owners dive into, their own business, and all of a sudden they're working 80 hours a week. And all I teach right now is how to use AI to leverage and buy back at least 50% of that time.
Cool. Diane, do you have a thought about your specificity?
My thing has always been, kind of a 5-step framework. And the first part of the framework is strategy and results. And so my intent is to stay there and look at what those things are, and potentially. So I have a market, I call it the MAP, right? The marketing action plan. And I talk a lot about planning, and I have a marketing calendar, and we go through a whole system every year in the fall of what are you doing now? What do you want to delete? What do you want to add? And I walk them through this whole process of, we fill out spreadsheets with what do you want to make? Breaking down each month with promotions, and we put it on a calendar. So I've been looking at how do I take that? Because look, nobody really wants to plan, and everybody needs a plan, right? So we do it for the year, and then we do the details for 90 days, because that's really all you can work out anyway is in a 90-day period. So I'm really looking at how do I take that process, which has always been kind of uniquely mine, and figure out a way that AI can do that, not for, but with clients, because it's still going to take some input, right? And make that whole process way easier, that potentially I can even package and sell something that's like your marketing plan in an hour, your marketing plan in 27 minutes or whatever, right? Because what I do now is it's a 3-day event. And, while people get a lot out of it, I'm not sure people want to do 3 days of that anymore. You know what I mean? And so that's a big piece that I'm looking at. And then the other two would be the implementation and leverage. Will be the things that I'll eventually look at.
So I have a question for you. Mark, you mentioned something in the beginning about custom GPTs. One of the coaches I had on a few episodes ago has created one, and it's him coaching. Okay. And it is him, and he's put tons of recorded coaching sessions in there and everything else. And so he offers that to clients as part of his coaching, and then asks them what the difference is they see between that, which they have always available, and the live sessions they have with him. And the answers were interesting. So you said something about building that, and Diane, I was thinking that as you were saying it. So this is Diane's map, right? So maybe this custom GPT, if it's chatty, whatever, but this custom model is really a place to look. Mark, what are you thinking about that?
Oh, absolutely. I know plenty of people in various ends of business, coaching, everything, and other areas that have all developed that virtual self, because a lot of our clients want access to us on a much, much higher level than either we're willing to give or they're willing to pay for.
Right.
So having access to a virtual Kellan will give them that ability, hey, let me bounce an idea off of you, and then really engage with the virtual you to get some guidance when they can't have access to you. And I think that that's a great thing for any coach who has the content and the material of them that's their own, that they can train a custom GPT on.
How hard is it to do that for Diane or for me? And you maybe already have one since you do this sort of thing. How hard is it for someone to do that?
It's actually really not that hard. You have to understand how ChatGPT works and basically feed it a bunch of your data. So up until about 10 days ago, ChatGPT was the only platform for that. And now Google has come out with GEMS, which is essentially their version of custom GPTs. And it's just a matter of having enough of a knowledge base that you can feed into it, and then pretty much just share out the link and it's live. There's a couple of really good platforms as well that do it. I'll have to get back to you off. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I know there's one that
Is it based on GPT or on something else?
It's a platform that's based on GPT, but it's got a different interface. So it's really designed as a software as a service. So you sign up for it, you feed it a bunch of stuff, and then it basically produces this web page where you have your custom self.
Well, I'd be interested in knowing what that is. So as you think about not chat, but AI in the future, what it can do, what it can't do, the humanness and all the rest, I'm really also fascinated by this isolation thing. I'm going to ask either one of you, both of you, what haven't you said that is either a warning or an invitation to people, coaches specifically, a warning or an invitation to people to take heed of or to think about if they want to stay in the coaching business, they want to do something meaningful, and they want to matter. What else haven't you talked about?
Honestly, I think the biggest thing that I would recommend to coaches is don't go for the easy button. Don't lose the interconnection of people and stay out there. Go to conferences, engage with people, talk to people face to face, because isolation isn't going to help them grow. It's just going to make it worse.
We saw that certainly with COVID poisoning so much of that.
Well, you think about when the internet first came out, right? There was the joke that we all saw that said, on the internet, they don't know we're a dog, right? You could be a 500-pound person selling weight loss stuff, right? It's not like that anymore. But for me, I think it's two things. One is exactly what Mark just said is the people part of it, right? Don't forget about that and how important that is. The other piece is it's BSOS, bright shiny object syndrome, and people are addicted to being busy and not productive. And I think AI has a tendency to feed into that, right? Oh, I can be busy learning all this AI stuff and every new thing that comes out and every new platform and every new application, but I'm not being productive and I'm not making money. And so I think as coaches, it's our job and responsibility to hone our clients in around that. But I think that's one of the challenges and the fears that I have for people is, we've already got whatever number you believe, half or 3/4 or whatever of the businesses that aren't in business 2 years after they start, 5 years after they start, whatever. That number, I think, as we look at the AI, I think it's going to increase. Because people major on the minors and people focus on and concentrate on the wrong things.
Major on the minors. I'm going to say that. I love that. Thank you.
But they do, right? And so we do what's easy, right? The hard stuff, we're okay doing the hard stuff. But as humans, because we get it, we've been around for long enough that we understand you have to do the hard stuff. But as humans, we tend to go to what's easy. Right? Well, it's easy to sit around and play with ChatGPT all day or AI or whatever, right? It's hard to look at what are the 3 things I need to do today and get done and be productive on so that my business moves forward so I can make money.
Wonderful. Well, thank you both for that. So I appreciate your thoughts, your admonitions, and your insight. Mark, I'd be curious what that platform is. Afterwards, just send me a note if you find it or remember or whatever. I'm curious about that. Diane, thank you for being here with me today. I don't have any more to add. I just want to part with this closing thought. AI is changing the coaching industry in big and significant ways. And nothing that either Mark or Diane or any of our other guests before have said it disagrees with that. It's going to be up to us individually as coaches to decide if we're willing to put the ante down, to get better at what we do, and to literally overcome this whole imposter syndrome that Diane talked about earlier. Because the opportunity for that's going to get worse, even though you're relying on AI, because if you're relying on that, you're going to be replaced by a $97 a month bot that somebody built on whatever platform that is that Mark talks about. So, Mark, thanks for being here with me today.
Very welcome. Thank you.
Diane, thanks for being here with me today.
Thank you, Kellan. I appreciate the opportunity.
No, you bet. Listeners, I want you to pay attention to this. These are two seasoned people, and they join the ranks of the others that we've had they're going to impact your business. And if you want to stay in this business, it's a precious and sacred business. It's a people encouragement business. We get to get into people's hearts and souls and help them overcome those barriers, and you know that, and you love it when that happens. But you have to start with your own. And if you do, and you use this tool for what it's worth, then you'll be able to move forward and create your ultimate life.
Never hold back and you'll never ask why. Open your heart and this time around.
Right here, right now. Your opportunity for massive growth is right in front of you. Every episode gives you practical tips and practices that will change everything. If you want to know more, go to KellanFluckigerMedia.com. If you want more free tools, go here, YourUltimateLife.ca. Subscribe, share.
Stand with your heart in the sky and your feet on the ground.